When developing in Python, sometimes you need to install different versions of Python in order to take advantage of libraries that were written in the older version of the language. So for example, if you're taking Python today, which is in 2019, you're probably going to use the latest, which is Python 3.7.2, at the time of this video, or newer, depending on when you're watching it. Or if you're using older modules from third-party libraries that are written in earlier versions, such as Python 2.7, then you want to have Python 2 installed, right? So the problem is managing the projects that are using these different versions of Python. If you're relying on, let's say you had two projects using Python 3.7.2, and you only had the Python installed for all users on the machine, then if one project required libraries for a particular version of that library, and another project had the same library but a different version, then these different versions of these libraries would conflict with each other unless you had some way to isolate them in your environment. And that's what virtual environment does, right? It gives you this isolation between different projects using different versions of Python and Python libraries. So I'm going to show you how to create two different virtual environments. First off, I'm going to show you how to install Python 3.7.2 right on your machine. I'm going to show you how to structure your development folders to make it easy, right, to find out where stuff is installed, and then create a virtual environment using Python 3.7.2, and then come back around and do it one more time with Python 2.7.15, and then create a virtual environment for that, and then show you how these two different environments can work together without conflict. Okay. You can create, once you have to install a version of Python for each level of Python or version of Python you want to use in a virtual environment. But then once you have that installed, you can have as many virtual environments based on that version of Python as you want for projects that use different versions of libraries, etc. Okay, seems a little confusing, but it's not once you see how it's done. So even though it's number 2 on the list, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create this structure right here, this C:\dev Python versions folder, and here's a series of commands. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a command prompt. I have it pinned to my desktop, so I'm just going to select more, and you're going to run this as administrator. Click yes. All right, and now I can dismiss this. So first off, be cognizant and aware of where you're at. And I think I can get away with making this just a little bit bigger. Properties, font, and I'll make the size 36. Okay, that's nice. You should be able to see that pretty good out there in internet land. Okay, so let's go to cd C:\. All right, now make dir dev. Okay, now do a dir, and we'll see we have a dev folder. So now cls make dir dev \python. Okay, now let's do a tree on dev, and we'll see that we have a Python directory. Now do a make dir dev \python \versions. Okay, do a tree once again on dev, and we'll see that we have a subdirectory structure dev, okay, Python versions. Now we can go ahead and install Python. We'll install first version 3.7.2. So go pull up a browser, go to python.org. Now when you get here and you hit downloads, it'll recommend, right, that download 3.7.2, but this is going to be the 32-bit version. So let's go to Windows, and 372, right? That's the latest. And we'll do a Windows x86 executable installer. And go ahead and click on that. And that downloads this 372 AMD64. Okay. And we'll wait till that finishes installation, which it did. And we'll say show in folder. All right, I can minimize this. And we'll go ahead and double click this to get the installation going. All right. Take a look at this installation window here, first screen. I'm going to add Python 3.7 to the path. I'm not going to do this for the next Python version I install, but I want this to be in the path. And then I'm going to customize installation. You want to do that because you want to make sure that it gets installed in that dev Python versions folder. Hit next. Here, make sure all these are clicked. Hit next. Okay, and here we have advanced. So install for all users. You'll see the customized install location change. And we're going to go ahead and browse to our this PC C drive, dev, Python, okay, and then versions. Now, hit OK. Add one more backslash and type Python 3.7. You can dot 3.7.2, which is fine by me. All right, so that's the folder that we're going to install 3.7.2 in. I like to go ahead and download the debugging symbols and the debug binaries for Visual Studio 2015. If you use Visual Studio and you want to develop Python with Visual Studio, then these help out. If not, you don't have to download them, but I'm going to. So C:\dev Python versions. Double check your installation folder, and when you're ready, hit install. Okay, and then hit yes. So once again, to review, go ahead. You have to create the installation folder structure. You can create whatever folder structure you want. This is merely a suggestion on my part. But it helps. The reason why I don't like program files is it has a space in it, right? And so if you have any paths with a space, you have to surround them in quotes in order to use them. Whereas if there's no spaces in the path, you can just type it right on in. Okay, and once we get Python installed, we'll have pip available to us, and then using pip we can install virtual environment. And once we install virtual environment, then we can create new virtual environments, and then I'll show you how to activate them. So once again, to review the installation, is you install Python, whichever version you want to install, set up your dev/Python versions folder, and then I did this already, but you're going to have this administrator command prompt in order to use pip to install virtual environment. So also too is if you're a Linux person, these instructions are already up here for you on the virtual environment homepage or installation page, but they're in Linux, right? So if you're a Windows, especially if you're new to programming and you're new to software development, this is, you might as well be looking at Chinese, right? Because it's just going to be indecipherable, this Unix stuff, right? It's not hard. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm translating these instructions into what's required to install virtual environment on Windows. Okay, so let's go back to the installation, and we're still compiling these libraries. Oops. So at this point I will let the pre-compiling of the standard libraries progress, and then when it's finished I will continue. Okay, installation was successful, so I'm going to go ahead and close this. Now, how can we test, right? So we'll just go ahead and say Python. And the best way to do this is actually close the window and then reopen it, because that's the way the environment variables take effect. So let's go ahead and redo that. More. Run as administrator. Yes. All right, so once again, let's try Python. Okay, so now we'll see that we drop into the command interpreter right here, right? So we'll just exit. And now let's go back to C drive, though not strictly necessary. CD C:\\cls. Now let's do pip VirtualEnv. Okay, so we're going to install virtual environment. Okay, and that's it. It's installed. And from here now, what we do is we can create our environments directory. So we'll do a tree on dev, and we'll see that there's only the, well, that's all the Python stuff in there, right? It'll take a little while. I probably should have thought about that before I hit that command. Okay, so CLS. So we'll just do a dir dev. All right, so we see we have a Python, so dir dev \Python. Okay, so we have a versions. Now let's do a make dir dev \Python, and I'll call it environment. Let's call it dev Python environments. Okay, let's make sure that's in accordance with the instructions. Yeah, so C:\dev Python environments, right? And hit return. Now, let's change directory to cd dev \Python \environments. Okay. Okay, I misspelled environments. Let me go back over here. Let's go in here and do rm C:\dev /Python /envirome environments. Okay. Remove dir dev \Python \tab. All right, it's rmdir. So CLS. All right, now let's try this again. Make dir dev \Python \environments. Don't forget the en. Okay, dev Python \environments. Okay, let's do a dir dev \Python. Okay, well, we got environments and versions. Now let's just change to dev \Python \environments. Okay. Now, VirtualEnv. So now we have, let's just review where we're at. We have Python 3.7.2 installed. So at this point, if I type Python, it automatically calls Python because it's in our system path, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a default virtual environment using Python 3.7.2, since Python 3.7.2 is our default default Python environment, simply because it's in our path, right? I'm going to say virtual environment VirtualEnv, okay, and just give it a name. So I'll just say env. I'll say environment. I'll say 3.7.2 dash. Let's see, 3.7.2 dash. I'll just do that. 3.7.2. I'll say default. In the instructions, I might even modify those. So I'll just do it like that. Okay. Virtual environment 3.7.2. You can name this thing anything, right? You could say environment Pinocchio, right? environment 372. It's on my instructions here. I wrote these things, right? So, but the point is like you might have a 372 environment for one purpose and then another 372. These names can be changed, right? So a good thing might be like env 372 dash, A, right? Or A. Maybe I'll do that, right? Environment 3.7.2 dash A. Let's see if that works here. So it's using the base Python 372. That's because that's our default Python that's installed. Okay, and then once this virtual environment is created, I'll show you how to activate it, and then we can call the Python command from there, right? And then next we'll repeat this whole cycle, but we'll install a Python 2 version, okay? These virtual environments give you everything you need, right? It has its own version of pip, right? So you can install packages inside of that virtual environment. And this will be finished here in a second. And then we can test it, activate it, and show you how it works. And like I said before, you can create as many of these virtual environments as you want. And the purpose would be to use different versions of libraries and deconflict those differing library versions. All right, so let's do a dir here, and we'll see that we have that environment. Now, in order to activate, so let me do a CLS, right? Notice that my display, my cursor is just C:\dev Python, right? But if I type in env, hit and then /scripts, /scripts/activate, hit return, notice that it changes. Now it shows that this environment is active. Okay, and if I type Python, it's going to be 372, right? So you're like, well, that doesn't seem like a big deal. But just wait. Now, let's repeat this. Let's go back. Okay, let's repeat this. Let's go back and install Python 2. So I can go back here. So we'll come down here to Python 2 6827. That's 3636. Let's go down to Python 2.15. 2.7.15 I think is the latest one. So I'm scrolling on down here. There we go. 2.7.15 release candidate 1. 2.7.15. So let's go ahead and download this one here. This is a Windows 64 MSI installer. Okay, and when that finishes up, we'll be ready. It's not done yet. Okay, as soon as this finishes downloading, we will install Python 2.7.15, and we'll kind of repeat that installation. We don't have to recreate the directory structure, obviously, but we're going to install 2.7 into our versions folder, and then we'll create a 2.7 environment in our environments folder. The only thing we won't do is we won't set 2.7 on the path. We won't add that to our system path, right? So that when we're at the command prompt, we just type in a command just open up a command prompt. We type in Python, that'll be 3.7.2. If we want to switch into Python 2, we go into our virtual environment, activate it, and we'll be in Python 2. Okay? So that's the cool part about it. Okay, it's still not done. Still downloading. Still downloading. It says it's not. It says it looks like it's done, but it's not quite done yet. Not done yet. There we go. Now it's done. All right, that took a little bit longer than I thought it would. Show in folder. So here's Python 2.7.15. Double click that. We can minimize this. Okay, and we can close that. Now it says install for all users. Yes. Okay. Next. Now, here it's trying to give us, right? So we're going to go ahead and select where we want this. Local disk C, dev, Python versions, and make sure we give it a folder name, Python 2.7.15. Okay. So we double check our Python folder where we want to put it. All right, Python 2.7.15. Next. All right, and everything looks like it's. And so we've got add Python exe to path. No, that's checked out. Next. Now it starts installing, right? So hit yes. And this should not take too long. Okay, while this is installing, we can take a look here at the command prompt, and we see that this environment is activated, right? And I showed you how to type Python, but to deactivate it, simply type deactivate, just like that. Now you're back to the regular command prompt. Okay, and the installer is still installing. All right. While I'm at it, let me edit this file here. We'll make a new environment. -A. Okay, that could be -A, -B, whatever, environment, whatever you name that. This right here is simply the name of the virtual environment. And if you don't specify, here we have virtual environment with no arguments, right? It's just virtual environment and then the name of the environment. That installs a default Python version, which happens to be the version 3.7.2, which is the one that I put on our path. Okay, let's go ahead here, and it says finish. We're done with 2 installation. Now we've deactivated. Let's go up one directory, /version, do a dir, and we see we have Python 2.7.15, right? So keep in mind, if we do let's look at dir, Python 2.7.15, we'll see that there's a Python executable here, Python exe, right? That's the Python that we want to use to create our virtual environment for 2.7.15. So let's go back over here, /environments, CLS. Okay, now that we've got Python 2.7.15 installed, we can come back up here, change directory, /environments. Oh, cd // environments. Okay. All right, let's try this one more time. cd cd environments. Okay, dir. Now, so we got environment 3.7.2-A, so we're going to call CLS first, and we're going to say VirtualEnv --python equals C:\dev /Python /versions /Python 2.15 /Python.exe. Okay. And then we're going to call the virtual environment env 2.7.15-A. Let's make this env, not emv. Just double check your work here. Env 2.7.1A. Hit back here and hit return. Okay, now it says running with the interpreter. Dev Python versions 2715, 15 Python executable. Okay. And when this finishes, then we'll go back and we'll then go in here into its scripts folder and we'll run activate, and then you'll see that it's now you're set up to run Python 2.7.15. And again, you can create as many of these Python 2 virtual environments as you want. Okay. Now there's a really good book called Pro Python Best Practices that kind of shows you how to do all this stuff. If we pull up here, let's just go to Amazon while we're waiting for that to finish. Amazon.com. All right. I have no affiliation with this guy who wrote this book, but it's a really good book. So Python. Oh, Pro Python. Best practices. Okay. Get it right here. This one right here. Pro Python Best Practices. I like how I got a 1 review. Evidently these people are idiots, because this is a really good book. There's a lot of stuff in there. If you're new to Python programming, it might look like encrypted code, but once you get a handle on what you're doing, this is a really, really good book here, right? These people must be haters. This is a good book. Take my advice on that one. All right, I'll plug that book. Now, let's change. Let's go CD env 2175A. Okay, and we don't even have to do that, right? We don't have to be in the environment. We just have to go there. So scripts \activate, and then watch what happens to our C prompt. Now we're in this environment, right? So when we type Python, we get Python 2.1.7. So we can, when we're in this environment, even though our path is set to Python 3.7.2, when we activate our virtual environments, that's the version of Python that we're using, and all the libraries for that particular virtual environment. Okay, so if we want to then work on a project, right, we can do that. Okay, so we would, now there's if you go to that book, Pro Python Best Practices, my next video will be, there's another tool that you can install to help you manage your projects, and then how to set up your Python projects. This is just how to install a virtual environment. Exit from this command interpreter. Okay. And then the last thing I want you to do, which is a step towards setting up your development environment in general. Okay. So let's go back, CD one more time. So now we're here in Python. So dir, we have 2 directories here, environments and versions. Let's make another directory. So mkdir projects. So this is in Python. We're making another directory called projects. Now we have 3 directories. We have our versions of Python to consolidate where these Python versions are being installed. We have our environments, which was our virtual environments, and projects. And that's it for this video. Again, this video has shown you how to install Python, 2 different versions of Python in Windows 10, and then use pip to install virtual environment. Okay. And just as a review, the instructions on the virtual environment homepage are in, Linux speak, right? Which if you're a Linux person, it'd be easy to understand. And I think I'll make a video on how to do that in a Linux environment for those folks who are using Linux. Okay. So anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. And for those folks who are taking my class, I look forward to seeing you in class. Thank you very much.